It's an amazing thing. I've witnessed it live. If you can't even listen to yourself, that's not a good start. You should check with your neighbors if they're okay. I gave my very first performance when I was 11 before I moved to India. So for me, it's the only one experience I have is to have Sadhguru as my father-in-law. See, but if he gave me great life advice, why should I share it? That's for me to keep. Ramanai bajital noivinai tirumvin sanchalamagantridume.
Welcome to At Work on Connected to India. My name is Himanshu Verma. My guest on this edition of At Work is a diaspora boy who was born and brought up in California, an exceptional musician, phenomenal Carnatic singer, and who will be performing here in Singapore on the 29th of March at the PGP Hall at the Sri Srinivasa Perumal Temple. Sandeep, welcome to At Work.
Namaskaram. Thank you so much, Himanshu. It's great to be on your show.
Namaskaram. First question to you is you're bringing your show Avathar to Singapore. So tell us, it's not so many days away from now. What should people be expecting and how did the show come about?
So this is going to be something special for Ramanavami celebrations, which are happening in just about a couple of weeks. This is a few days earlier than Ramanavami, but this is when we were all able to get together, and so this is how it worked out. But definitely, we're going to bring Ramanavami a little early to Singapore and have a grand celebration in praise of Lord Rama. So this program is going to definitely predominantly surround compositions, both some popular ones as well as a couple of rare compositions, probably about Rama in all the different languages, as many as we can cover.
And I believe Avatar is being brought by the Hindu Endowment Board, which are also very generously not only holding it one of the bigger halls in Singapore, but it's allowing people to come and join in for free.
Yeah, I think it's really fantastic. I mean, the effort put in, and it's not such an easy thing. And people very often are quick to say, "Oh, is the program ticketed or is it free?" And if it's ticketed, they think twice. So that itself is a sort of a culture and a mentality that we're trying to change. But for the sake of this program, the Hindu Endowment Board has been so gracious. They just said, you know what, we just want to have as many people join in the celebration for Ramanavami and for this program. So let's not even look at such things, which I think is really fantastic. And I'm very grateful that they're doing this, and very happy to be part of this wonderful event.
As a musician, how do you curate your shows? Like, have you done Avatar in other parts of the world, or is this exclusively which you have created for Singapore? And just tell me a bit more about the composition. You said they'll be covering multiple languages. Can you tell us specifically which languages and tell us a bit more about Avatar?
Yeah, this is, like I said, it's going to be predominantly about Rama as we're celebrating the Ramanavami, celebrations. And most of the compositions, I know what I'm going to do, but see, even from show to show, even a different Ramanavami celebration program, I'll be having multiple. In fact, even the week after, we have a couple in India and different places like Bangalore and Coimbatore. And so there'll be some compositions which get repeated as part of the program. And of course, here and there, some requests come and we incorporate as many of those as we can. I'll definitely be covering Tamil, predominantly probably some Tamil compositions. Of course, Sanskritam and Telugu. See, one of the most famous Telugu composers, Tyagaraja Swami, composed 95% on Lord Rama. He had dedicated his entire life to Lord Rama as he was a devotee. And so we'll definitely be featuring some of his compositions. I don't want to say exactly which ones I'm going to sing. The problem is sometimes people say, "Oh, but if, I know it'll attract more people because they know." I don't want to detract anybody from coming because they think, "Oh, I'm not a big fan of that composition." I do promise to give something for everybody. We'll have some heavy pieces, probably some heavier, larger pieces by Tyagaraja Swami, and we'll definitely have some smaller ones. We'll have some bhajans, maybe even Hindi bhajans, like very famous one like Payoji Mene, the sorts of things may be included. Definitely something like Papanasam Shivan's Ramane Bhajital, which is a very, very popular Tamil composition on Rama that has a very different sort of chanting effect in the end where people join along. So it'll even be a little interactive. There'll be some compositions which we just present, but I love to have compositions where people actually join in the singing along with us and make it a more engaging, interactive program as much as I can.
That sounds very exciting. I can assure you, Singapore crowd is very participative, and plus, Singapore surprises the rest of the world how the performing arts in Singapore do really well. Indian performing arts. So you'll be surprised when you will hear that people are actually trying to match your sur exactly the way you would be singing it. So let's see how
That's
that goes.
that's the one thing I do. I have said this before when I sing some of the compositions. You know, if we have some Ram chanting, some Ramar chanting, or some Vithala repetitions, I say, please do join along, but you should check with your neighbors if they're okay because, it can enhance the experience, but it can also take away from the experience. As you say, if they don't match the sur, if they're not on Shruti with me, if they're singing in a different pitch or different key, then it may not be so enjoyable for their neighbor. But usually, it's one of those amazing things that I don't know how this works, but if you ask an individual to sing,
Yeah.
eight out of 10 individuals who have not been musically trained will not be able to sing on pitch. But if you put 100 of them together, it's the opposite. 80% of them will sing on pitch, and you just have 10 or
Wow.
20%. It's somehow they all kind of come together. It's an amazing thing. I've witnessed it live when I've sung. I've witnessed it live as an audience member. It's really, really something truly fantastic. People who think that they cannot sing and they cannot hold a note, when they're surrounded by people singing, somehow their body, their mind, it just comes into line with the Shruti. And so that's what we go for. And it creates a whole different effect.
That is an excellent observation. Come to think of it, you're absolutely correct. When I sing to myself, my subconscious is shut up. But when I go to an Amit Trivedi or a Sonu Nigam, I feel like singing and you feel everybody singing in tune. That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
I hope you don't
Okay.
tell yourself. If you can't even listen to yourself, that's not a good start.
It is not. But believe me. So, dialing back a bit, I want to ask you questions about your growing up years.
Yeah,
Like I said in my introduction, you're born, brought up in California. And
yeah.
so, at what stage in life did you start getting interested in Carnatic music?
I was born into a very, very musical family. So my mother was my first teacher, Shubha Narayan. She still has a music school in the Southern California area called Sampradaya School of Music. My father, exactly the year that I was born, a few months before I was born, started an organization called the South Indian Music Academy, or SEMA for short. And they just celebrated their 40th anniversary last year, which tells you how old I am. So from a very young age, from the age of 2 or 3, I was in my mother's classes. And from the age of 3, 4, I kind of started humming along. And when I was 4 years old, I just started singing a song. And my father was the most surprised. And he asked my mom, where did he learn this? When did you teach him? And my mom said, I never taught him this. He's sitting in the class with the other students and he's just been listening. So they realized, okay, early on that I had some strong interest and aptitude for this. And so they really encouraged that and nurtured that interest early on. And as a result of that, when I was 11, my parents, I mean, all credit goes to them. They realized, okay, maybe it's time to send him to somebody else for a little bit more advanced training as well. And my parents took the decision that they sent me to India when I was 11. For almost 1.5 years, I learned from
Oh, wow.
one of the most senior masters of Carnatic music at that time, K.S. Krishnamurti, who was in Chennai. And he was already teaching some of the great performing artists in the field. And he was quite old himself, but he said, he'll take me on. And I must have been his youngest, if not one of the youngest students at that time. For me, as an 11-year-old, the attractive factor of that was my parents said, well, you won't really have to go to school because the school system in India for that age won't match the
Yeah.
US academic, syllabus. I said, okay, no school, let's do it. And for me, music was always something that was more interesting than the academic studies. And it came a little bit easier for sure. But that was the time that I became more disciplined and became more regular. And I started practicing every day and I got into that routine. And because of that, like I said, it was a turning point. A year after that, or a couple of years after that, my teacher passed away. So in the year 1999, he passed away. And I subsequently began learning from one of his senior most disciples, Sanjay Subramaniam, in Chennai. So I was going back and forth. And that's pretty much how my training happened. And all through high school and college years, I was learning from Sanjay Subramaniam and continuing quite a rigorous training when I was in India, and then continuing my practice, maintaining my practice when I was in the US, and still along with my academic studies. By the time I got to university, he kind of planted this idea in my head that why don't you move to India and take this up seriously, give it a shot. It takes people like that to see if you have that potential and capability.
True.
And so he, as well as a few other very senior artists who were close friends of ours, I think they saw that and they encouraged me very strongly to move to Chennai and take it up and sort of give it a shot. So kind of with their encouragement and their confidence, I made that shift in 2006 when I had finished my bachelor's degree. I relocated to Chennai, thinking I'll be in Chennai for a couple of years. That was my idea. Let me give it a shot for a couple of years. couple of years is now, I think, what, 18, 19 years or something like that. So it's going strong.
Very interesting. And did you grudge that decision of being sent to India when you were just 11 when it was initially taken?
Well, like I said, when I was 11, the most attracting factor was that I didn't
No
have to go to
school.
school. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would say that that's kind of how they got me to agree to it. I was definitely interested in music, though. That's the
Yeah.
thing. I mean, all said and done, the school was probably at that age. It is a factor that you think, oh, it'll be fun to not have school. But obviously, you're doing something else. So it's not that you can just take school out and make a kid do anything. It
Correct.
definitely was that I was interested in music, and like I said, it was something that came to me a little naturally. It wasn't something that was very foreign or that I had to force.
How old were you when you started performing?
I gave my very first performance when I was 11 before I moved to India, actually. So it was in somebody's house. And that's also a funny story. One of our family friends kind of bribed me and said, sing a concert and I'll buy the things from your school fundraiser. And that's how it happened first.
I want to ask you, I was describing you as a diaspora kid. There are other diaspora kids who are doing really well. You've heard of Janita Gandhi doing some incredible playback singing. Shakira
Yeah.
and Sid Sriram has done some incredible singing. This movement sort of has started a few decades back at the time. I mean, these all the
Yeah.
names I mentioned, they're around your age, right? So tell me
Yeah.
about the pull which Indian music have with the diaspora kids, and what's your feel? Have you also done some playback singing in Tamil cinema or some other cinema?
You said I'm the same age. I'll take it as a compliment because I know I'm definitely older than them, but that's okay. If you want to put me in the same age group, I'm happy. The thing is, when I moved back to India, or when I moved to India in 2006, it was a little unprecedented, at least in the Carnatic field. In the film field, I think few people had done it. Even in Tamil film, I know some of my own friends who came from the US and established themselves in the field. But in the Carnatic field, it was really the first because I spoke to so many organizers who wouldn't really believe me and take it seriously. Subsequently, so many people have been able to move and balance both life in the US or Canada and then India, which is great. I'm glad that it became much easier because when I did it in 2006, it was quite tough to even convince people that I want to take up music full time. They would think you're born and raised in America. Why would you do this? You know, most people are trying to move to America or Canada or UK or Australia. Why are you going to move back? Why would you leave all that and do something so uncertain as taking up music, and that too Carnatic music, which even for the best is not always the most financially rewarding. You know, it's something you do. So it took a while to convince them that I was just following my passion and that this is what I want to do regardless of all of those factors. Um, Interesting that you also mentioned Jonita Gandhi. She's a fantastic artist, and now she's been nominated for a Juno Award, and I'm also nominated for a Juno Award. And so it's kind of an
Congratulations.
amazing thing. Thank you, because ours is a Carnatic fusion album that I worked on with a Toronto producer named Janssen, and and the other songs in that category of South Asian music that have been nominated this year in the Junos are all a little bit more in the pop sort of genre, and ours is actually classical based, classical with hip hop mixed. So it's the first time something like Carnatic is being featured in such a global platform, something like as prestigious as the Junos. So I think that that itself has been kind of not that we're looking for what do you say, a validation, but it's something that is reassuring to know that something which we have believed for so many years, that even Carnatic music can be on a global platform, can be on that stage, can be part of that conversation, is now part of that conversation, is now being recognized, and that's really amazing, and we're so happy about that. I've not personally sung for any Tamil films yet. Maybe if somebody asks, I will. I'm not against it at all.
No, you're already doing really well, and I'm hoping this interview will get you some good luck, and you will get one of those additional big break in a big Tamil
Thanks.
film.
Everybody says the big break, but that's the thing that I'm saying. I think in today's world, there was once upon a time where it was looked at as, oh, you got to get your big break in the film world. You have to sing in Bollywood or Collywood, and for this director or that music director. I think we're in a world today where a lot of independent music is doing so well that even without of course, the film reach is a next level. Nobody's denying that. But it's amazing to see that even independent artists, independent music now is doing so well. And I think that's fantastic because, I mean, the best of the music directors have said at times that you do something in a certain way for a film. It needs to suit the film. It needs to suit what you're doing there. But when you have the freedom as an artist to do what you want to do independently and not worry about, does it suit that scene? Is the director going to say okay? Is the producer going to say okay? then you can actually do something that's more true to yourself as a composer, as a curator, as an artist. And I think that's really fantastic that that's being supported so much, and the support for that is growing. So I think that itself, the fact that that is changing and that culture is changing, that is the big break that's happened now for all musicians.
Couldn't agree with you more. And that is particularly true for India, where the indie music
Yeah.
scene is so powerful. And I don't
Yeah.
know if you've seen this very popular series on Prime Video called Bandish Bandit 2.
Of course.
But
Yes.
I mean, look at that. I mean, anybody who says who doesn't agree with me that this is going to attract so many more people into classical singing, Carnatic or Hindustani vocal, etc., is not being true. So completely agree.
Yeah.
That's a testament of how powerful the indie music scene is now.
It's a fantastic example, as you said, and I know many of the musicians and composers who have worked on the Bandish Bandits season 2, and I was talking to them, and they're classically trained. You know, it's a completely classical based curation and composition that they do, and then you kind of, like I said, it's just a little bit of repackaging. They're not doing pop music or something else. It's so classically based, and it's packaged in such a way that it can reach the masses. And I think there's a strong movement pushing classical based music right now. I mean, you've seen some of the best music directors have been speaking about that recently, saying that the time tested genre, the time tested songs are the ones that had a very classical base. And I think that it's kind of coming full circle now. And that's the greatness of India. That's the greatness of Indian culture, is that we're able to reach everything and still have our roots, still come back to where it all started at the end of it. That's, to me, one of the most meaningful and powerful things. And as a classical artist, it's like coming back here is like, okay, it's coming back home where I am already.
You happen to be son-in-law of someone who is very well known. So I want to ask whether this gentleman, Sadhguru, Sri Jaggi Vasudev, has given you some great life advice which you could also share with us.
People ask this at all. See, but if he gave me great life advice, why should I share it? That's for me to keep. It's between me and him.
Come on, sharing is caring,
Many,
etc., etc. We need to hear this.
many people have asked me this. Yes, it's nothing short of a blessing, and it's been wonderful to be his son-in-law. But like I've said in some interviews, and I've said to people who ask me, I've only had one father-in-law, so for me, it's the only one experience I have is to have Sadhguru as my father-in-law. And it's of course been wonderful. We talk a lot about a lot of things about my music, about other things happening, and so I don't think there's any one piece of advice I can say that he's given me. But we do discuss a lot of things happening in the music field, the arts in India, as far as culture goes, in America as well, with my travels and my tours. And I discuss a lot of my ideas with him and get his take on. He knows how to reach people, right? So when I talked to him about the music, we discussed a
That's
lot
an
of ideas.
understatement.
Yes, of course. So how do we make music, and my wife Radhe being a Bharatanatyam dancer, how do we make the music and the dance and the core parts of our Indian culture, classical arts and traditional art forms reach more people and be propagated so that we don't lose them in another 20 years or 30 years or 50 years? And that's what we want to do. And I think that's probably one of the things that we talk about the most, and that he kind of gives me his thoughts on that, which helped me a lot in figuring out, okay, how do we take this forward next and really bring it out. And we have a school in Isha Foundation called Isha Samskriti. And through that, we've got a performing company called Project Samskriti, which has a music, Bharatanatyam. So it's got Carnatic, Hindustani, Bharatanatyam, and Kalaripayattu. And so we put on some huge productions with that. And the main goal there is, how do we bring this to more people? And these students are trained for 10, 12 years in nothing but these art forms. And so then we have these students take it forward. And so kind of that's where a lot of my focus goes, both in my solo career, my individual career as Sandeep Narayan, the vocalist, but also as one of the curators overseeing the music in Isha Samskriti and helping those students as well. It's all for that common goal of how do we have our culture be known, the awareness to grow and to thrive around the world.
Fantastic. Sandeep, before I conclude the interview, I would request you to sing any little piece of your own choice for our viewers.
ராமனை பஜித்தால் நோய்வினை தீரும் வீண் சஞ்சலமகன்றிடுமே சீதா ராமனை கண்ணால் காண்போம் இன்றே பிறந்த பயன் அடைவோம் பிறந்த பயன் அடைவோம் ராமனை பஜித்தால் நோய்வினை தீரும் வீண் சஞ்சலமகன்றிடுமே சீதா சீதாராமனை கண்ணால் காண்போம் இன்றே பிறந்த பயன் அடைவோம் பிறந்த பயன் அடைவோம் ஓ ஓ ஓ
Oh, fantastic. I
Thank
mean,
you so
that's
much.
that's a trained, powerful singer who'd put years and years and years and hours of riyaz who can just switch on the
Thank you.
button and he starts singing. Thank you so much. That was beautiful.
Thank you, Himanshuji. It was really fantastic. Thank you for having me on your show and having this conversation. It's been a
Thank
pleasure.
you and wishing you good luck and hoping to, not hoping, I look forward to seeing you in Singapore. Good luck.
Yes, I hope we're going to meet in a few days in Singapore. I hope to see you
Yes,
there, definitely. And to all the
100%.
people of Singapore, I'm so excited. I can't wait. Another few days I'm going to be there, and I'm really looking forward to it.
That was Sandeep Narayan, who will be performing in Singapore in a few days from now. If you enjoyed the interview, please press the like button, share it ahead, and definitely subscribe to Connected to India's YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.